I wanted to weigh in on a topic of very little importance. uh, in D&D, because the other systems kind of have other ways of handling this, but in Dungeons and Dragons specifically, and this kind of applies to any version of D&D, there are two main schools of thought about character advancement. You've got XP systems, and you have landmark or milestone systems. Either you earn XP by killing monsters, completing quests, doing cool things. You're awarded with XP, and once you have enough XP, you level up. Or milestone leveling, you just level up when the DM says you level up. And that usually happens like between story arcs. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. I've heard a lot of compelling arguments in either direction. I don't want to go over what I think of these things because this is an opinions channel, and these are my opinions. So I want to start with XP because that's sort of the original and the sort of the baseline assumption of these systems. XP does two things. It incentivizes specific behavior. And what that specific behavior is based entirely on what you give XP for. If you give XP for killing things, then your XP system incentivizes killing things. If you give XP for overcoming challenges, then it incentivizes overcoming challenges. If you give XP for social encounters or for cool role-playing, your XP system will encourage those things. This feels very like too simple to explain. But what's important is that XP does not encourage any behavior that does not directly earn XP. This was a lot more evident in very early versions of D&D, where XP was tied directly to how much money you got out of a dungeon. And rogues got like a multiplier. They got like, times 2 or times 3. But basically, like the amount of gold you pull out of a dungeon is how much XP you get from that dungeon. And so you are incentivized to clear the entire dungeon, leave no stone unturned, look for every secret treasure chest, get through every monster, kill everything in the dungeon, take everything of value, strip it out, and take it back to town. Which is kind of the source of the whole, D&D heroes are murder hobos idea, because early systems directly encourage you to engage in that behavior. More modern systems, I think, I haven't played 2nd edition or earlier. I've read about them, but I have not actually experienced them. But I know in 3rd edition, the system did start explicitly encouraging giving XP rewards for other things besides just killing monsters, completing quests, engaging in social encounters, or I think this was not in the book, but it was a very common rule that you award role-playing bonuses. You did or said something really cool that we all liked, so you're going to get some bonus XP. And 3rd edition specifically had no assumption that the entire party was going to have the same amount of XP, or even be the same level. So, you could award specific XP rewards to specific players instead of to the whole party. I don't like that. I don't do that. Whenever I run a game, everyone is at the same level. Whenever I run a D&D game. Because not all systems require that, but D&D I think does. So it encourages specific behavior. The second thing that it does is that it gives the players a really good metric on how close you are to advancing. First off, it gives the endorphins of, ooh, my number is getting bigger. I love it when my numbers get bigger. Everyone likes their numbers to get bigger. And so the number keeps going up and up and up, and then it hits a threshold, and you're like, yes, I have earned my way to this level. The things that I did, viscerally, identifiably, specifically, I can look at everything that I've done and see the progress that I am making towards this level that I have now earned. That's the experience that XP gives you. The experience that it gives you. That's the feeling that it gives you. That it's and it's not wrong. It's not like these are not bad things. But you do need to design an XP system quite carefully to make sure that it's actually encouraging the things that you want to happen in the game. Blades in the Dark is an example of a very different kind of XP system, where you are rewarded for playing out your character archetype. So for example, the Cutter, who is like your brute, gets XP for solving problems with violence. Whereas the Leech gets XP for solving problems with ingenuity. The Lurk solves problems with deception or evasion. You know, you get XP for engaging in your character's archetype and the kinds of things that that archetype is supposed to do. And then there's also XP awarded for doing daring things like engaging adversaries that are higher in position than you are. And as well as the crew gets XP for having struggles within the crew. Like infighting might seem like too strong a word, but basically like if there's tension and conflict between player characters or between characters in the crew, like there's XP to be had there because those are golden role-playing moments. So those are the things that Blades in the Dark has XP triggers for, and those are the things that it encourages. D&D, by and large, encourages combat. Overcoming challenges is perhaps the more broad term, but generally speaking, like 9 times out of 10, you're getting XP for killing the monsters and taking their stuff. Well, not specifically for taking their stuff, but killing the monsters. Most of the time, the monsters cannot be reasoned with. Your mileage may vary. So you have to make sure that your XP systems are encouraging exactly the kind of behavior that you want to encourage, because players are, by and large, like they are incentive motivated. They will see what it is that gets them the most of the reward, and then they go do those things, like as hard as possible. Some people are not there for that, sure, but a lot are. And so it's important to design your systems to encourage those that are motivated by it, because the people who aren't motivated by XP don't care what the triggers are. People who are motivated, you need to design the triggers around them. So that's XP, and that's what it does to the game, which sounds very aggressive, what it does to the game. But no, that's I mean, it's part of how XP is supposed to work. You encourage and reward specific types of behavior in order to advance your character. The other thing is milestone leveling, where you level up at specific points in the campaign, basically at the GM's whim. Kind of. There's usually this is done in like adventure modules, where you level up between chapters. And sometimes the adventure modules are even written with that assumption, where like, you know, each chapter is one level higher than the one before it, which can work out. The issue with milestone, okay, so first off, the advantage of milestone leveling is that you don't have to worry about, you know, getting too much XP too quickly, or not enough XP and being the wrong level for the content that you are engaging in. You don't have to worry about that at all. You are exactly the level that the DM says you should be at this point. And this can work for both adventure modules and homebrew content. It's much more controlled, which is a big advantage. The disadvantage, of course, is that there's no sense of progression. It's very like static or staggered. You know, like you suddenly level up and there's no progress, and then you suddenly level up again. And that can be a little disorienting for some players. Can feel like oddly paced, especially if some chapters or some story arcs are longer than others. You know, if you go do like what is basically 2 or 3 sessions, you know, 1 or 2 encounters, and then you level up, neat. And then the next arc ends up being like 6 months, because it's like a long journey with a lot of random encounters along the way, and then some storyline happens at the end, and then you level up. Like, those seem incongruous with each other. That is strange pacing. And that can be disorienting to players, as I just said a moment ago. So at the risk of repeating myself, it can be disorienting to players. Which do I prefer? That's a hard question that I have posed to myself because you cannot talk to me in a YouTube video. There are, of course, advantages and disadvantages to both. I just described them. I think as a DM, I prefer XP because then I don't have to worry about, so when I DM, I don't run adventures, or I don't run adventures. I don't run modules. I do all of my homebrew content, which means I am writing the campaign for the players as they go. I'm basically laying down the tracks in front of the train. And which means that I am at liberty to custom tune the encounters and the adventures to the party as they are. Which means that leveling up at what would otherwise be an inopportune time for some people isn't really an issue for me. Suddenly going from level 5 to level 6, well, now I'm making level 6 encounters, I guess. Or maybe I had the next couple of encounters already planned out, and they're going to be a little bit easier. It's not that big a deal. And I when I run a game, so I don't run 5th edition, I run 4th edition. And what I really like is 4th edition's XP system is very consistent. It takes an average of 10 encounters to level up if you are doing average, like standard, exactly correct level encounters every single time. It takes 10 of those to level up, no matter what level you are. Now, I tend not to run exactly on level encounters. I will usually tweak them up a bit. I don't usually tweak them down because a standard difficulty encounter is like sort of what I consider to be the baseline of difficulty. So I tend to tweak them up a bit. And then there's also quest rewards. Quest rewards are something that are actually printed in the book. There's specific guidelines for how to reward XP for quests and how much and everything like that. So you're actually looking at about maybe 6 or 7 encounters per level, which I think is a pretty decent pace for something like 4th edition. It would be much worse in 5th to do it that way. Which is why I kind of understand and appreciate the value of landmark. I keep wanting to say landmark. It's milestone leveling. I appreciate the value of milestone leveling for 5th editions, especially in the early levels. Because tier 1, which is levels 1 through 4, is just a horrible experience in 5th edition. It's such a bad way to play the game. You barely count as real characters at that point. You have so few features, so little hit points. A stiff breeze knocks you over. Battles and conflicts are so unstable at that level. You don't want to spend any more time than is necessary there. In fact, I strongly recommend starting your campaigns at 5th level. 5th level is really where the game starts. 5th through 12th, generously. So anyways, milestone leveling works in 5th edition because what you want to do is very carefully control when players have access to specific resources. If a dispel magic would completely ruin an encounter or a puzzle, then you need to have that before 4th level. And if you accidentally give them too much XP and they get to 5th level before they get to that puzzle, they could just ruin it because multiple full casters get access to dispel magic at that level. That's also when you get access to fly. So if flying ruins your puzzle, so that kind of stuff really encourages DMs to use milestone levelings so that you don't have players coming up with solutions that just sort of auto-invalidate the encounter or the challenge that you are presenting them. To a degree, because like at a certain point, wizards especially, are able to just sort of invalidate whatever they want. Starting around like 7th, 9th level. By 9th level, wizards can kind of handle any kind of logistical challenge. Like, it's not that they can take on any enemy, because obviously some enemies will just trounce them because they have too many hit points, their saves are too high or whatever. I'm not saying that the wizards can do anything at 9th level, but I am saying that wizards can do a lot of things at 9th level, and I think delaying their leveling up from there doesn't really help, because any kind of non-combat solution they need to have, they already have. So milestone leveling can only go so far. Milestone leveling in 4th edition, I have never tried, because I was introduced to the concept in 5th edition, where it has those distinct advantages. I don't think I would like it in 4th. I think I really do like the pacing of leveling up in 4th, because it is so consistent and, I don't want to say smooth, but I think consistent is the best word. It's so consistent all the way through all 30 levels. I think 4th edition is really geared towards long-term campaigns, and it does that very well. It's quite well suited for the types of campaigns that I run. These very long-term epic campaigns that go from, low-level heroes to absolutely epic world-changing characters. Which reminds me, I should do a video on canon characters. That'll probably be the next one. So anyways, that's XP versus milestones. I generally prefer XP systems because I run 4th edition. In the context of 5th edition specifically, there are advantages to both, and I think milestone wins out. I think the XP systems for 5th edition just aren't quite robust enough to make up the difference. I think milestones kind of come ahead on that one. So those are my thoughts on those.